And we are live. Hey, everybody, what's up?
What's
Okay, so
up? Hey, everyone.
y'all know it's us, the dynamic trio. And this is Happy, Healthy, and Healing with Ruby, Tara, and Allison. So we just gonna give everybody a little time to, you know, tune in and start watching live, and for Facebook to start, accumulating us some viewers. And if y'all have some other devices that y'all can go online and, share it with, please do. If not, it's completely okay. But while we're waiting for people to come online, I just want to go ahead and talk to our replay viewers real quick. If you happen to catch this on the replay, then comment replay and where you're watching from so we can thank you for tuning in. And that's pretty much it. We really hope that whatever we are sharing today is going to be beneficial for you and that it resonates with you. And if you feel like you want to share this live discussion, please feel free to do so. We love questions. We love engagement. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And if you have any comments, just go ahead and put them below and we will address them. So let me just check my feed real quick because I'm actually on my cell phone and my laptop. So I want to make sure that everybody can see this and that there's not any issues. And share it so we can get as many viewers as possible. Now, while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and let Allison start. Go ahead and introduce yourself. And then after Allison is done, just a very brief introduction. Then we're going to move to Tara, and then I'll go last.
Well, peace and blessings, everybody. This is Allison. I am with Peace Filling Move. The organization has been designed to help you heal, grow, and live beyond that relationship status by becoming better, not bitter, and enjoying your life along the journey. And I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, Allison. I'm Coach Tara with Tara Jackson Consulting. I am what I would coin the wounded healer. I assist women and men from a personal and professional development. I am an addiction recovery expert, and I just hold a space of healing for sisters. I'm just super excited to be a part of this movement.
Thank you, ladies. And of course, I am Ruby D, the Goddess Entrepreneur and Soul Speaker. And I am author of The Goddess Grind. And my area that I like to focus on is chakra and chakra knowledge. And with Happy, Healthy, and Healing, of course, I've been following both Allison and Tara for, I know, at least a year. I know it's probably been a couple of years. And just watching them on their path of, growing and not only growing personally, but professionally, I felt that they were the two that I needed to connect with in order to bring this to you all. And with that, I feel like we all have something very valuable that we want to share with you all. Even though we all have been on our separate journeys, we all are on a journey to the same destination, which is becoming the best versions of ourselves and helping who we can help along the way, as well as sharing our message. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and we're going to get started. So with our first question, we're just, we've already done like a very brief introduction, but what we're going to do now is share with you all what makes us happy about what it is that we do. So we'll go in the same order. We'll go ahead and start with Allison. So Allison,
like,
go ahead.
Okay. Well, what makes me happy? I'll say this. My expertise is in the areas of relationships, helping people learn to feel good about themselves before they get into relationships with other people. But I'm also into narcissistic abuse and emotional abuse specifically. And so the things that make me happy are seeing people get it. I love seeing that flashlight come on in the back of the eyes. I think Tara and Ruby know what I'm talking about, where you happen to say something to a person and you see that they get it and you see that they're going to hold on to it. And that's when you know that things are going to take a different direction in their lives.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. For me, my area of expertise is addiction and recovery, transformation, really tapping back into your own power, becoming your authentic self. So for me, what makes me happy when I cross paths with more so women specifically, is that transformation when they tap back into who they were before they lost their power.
Yes.
Like you said, that light bulb moment for them that is like, oh my God, I like that significant traumatic experience that they had in their
Yes.
lives, when they realize that that is at the core, that is the root to all of these other things that have happened in their life. Like, you just know that they're getting ready to transform their lives. So that is the thing that makes me happy when crossing paths with other sisters.
Well, thank you, ladies, for that. For me, like I said, my area of expertise is within balancing chakras, of course, on my own personal journey. And when I started trying to figure this thing out, where we decide to take this turn to be more spiritual as opposed to religious, I came across balancing chakras. And that is something that really resonated with me and within me. And with that, I furthered my studies in that and my, just researching it and really understanding it. And not only that, but applying it to my life. And with understanding how it's helped me and how it's been beneficial for me, then what makes me happy about what I do is being able to share that information with other people, because it's not something that we're taught when we're young. It's not something that we are familiar with at all. So being able to share something that very few people are knowledgeable about is what makes me happy about it, because I know that once I'm done speaking with them, that they're going to really get something out of it.
Right.
So now, with that being said, just a little more about what happy, healthy, and healing is. Of course, it's where we are going to take this opportunity to just share with you all that within this healing process, you can be happy, and you can be healthy. It's not all about like being in a dark room in a dark corner, rocking back and forth, and all you do is ugly cry all day, every day.
Right.
And that's not what it is. And it's just, we want you all to understand that within this healing process, you can be happy and you can be healthy, but you have to be consistent, and it takes work to get there. Sometimes you have to do it by yourself. Sometimes you have somebody there to support you, but it's something that has to be done. And if you have to do it, then you might as well be happy and healthy and just be appreciative of the whole process.
Right.
So, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. Let's see, we got Tate, we got Latasha, and of course, if y'all see anybody that you all know that's tuning in, Wafika, Nefertiti, thank you all for watching. And like I said, if you feel, compelled to, please share the video. But next on the agenda, we are all going to talk about what our purpose is. The reason that I wanted to touch on what our purpose is because at some particular point, all of us had no idea what our purpose is. But through healing and through taking this journey, dealing with those unfortunate life events and everything, and just getting through it, that's where your purpose starts to be revealed to you, and you learn to, with your experiences, you start getting hints on what you should be doing and how you should be helping others and how you can impact the lives of those people that you come in contact with. So we're just going to take a little time to go ahead and share with share with everybody what our purpose is.
Me first, huh?
Allison.
Of course.
Allison. Okay. So here's my purpose. I am someone who has had to overcome a lot of self-esteem, self-worth, and insecurity issues, whether it be those that were passed down to me by way of me having albinism, all the way down to interactions with men, lots of disappointment, things of that nature. And so what I have found my purpose to be as I have gone along my journey to healing is to basically speak the language of pain. I'm able to say things to people in ways that they didn't think anyone else could convey their feelings at that particular time. And my purpose in being able to do that is, and I'm sure that Ruby and Tara can attest to this, you can sometimes hit a level of pain or go through something so many times that you get to the point that you feel like no one else gets it but you. Mm-hmm. And once you get to that point, you start to shut down. You shut down on people, you shut down on you shut down on life. And sometimes it takes someone speaking your feelings in a way that you didn't even think you could to really start to open your mind back up and open your heart back up and allow you to accept those feelings instead of rejecting them or numbing them or things like that. And so my purpose is to help people from where they are, no matter how broken, no matter how rock bottom they've hit. My purpose is for them to see your rock bottom is still not the end unless you want it to be. If you don't want it to be, let's walk up out of this thing. And so that's what I do.
Okay. For me, thank you, Allison. I really connected with that. Being the byproduct of drug addicted and alcoholic parents for the better half of 21 years of my life, I've experienced a lot of trauma, like beyond your normal interactions with people. So suffering from PTSD, alcoholism, drug addiction, being an adult child of an alcoholic and drug addict. Once I began to tap back into my own power, I understood how powerful my story was. So for me, the bigger part of my purpose is to allow people to see that their story can either empower them or it can destroy them, and that they have a choice, and that they also do not need permission to heal. And so allowing them to discover purpose behind their pain and using it in a manner that it just takes them to a much deeper level of healing. So for me, it's just allowing people to be in a vulnerable space and to share their pain without judgment, and to find a way to use that pain as fuel, to move forward in their lives. So I could go on forever, but just really allowing people to assisting people in using their story as a means to empower themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you both, Miss Tara and Allison. I'm not gonna call y'all Sister Allison and Sister Tara like we in the church. But we lost Tara, but I know she's gonna come back. I know she's coming back. Yeah. But while we're waiting for her to come back, I'm gonna go ahead and share my purpose. My purpose that I feel is through education. And when I say through education, not necessarily school education, but just through sharing knowledge and sharing information with people that they're not familiar with and that they know very little about. Mm-hmm. I like to be able to, I feel like my purpose is to trigger certain things within people to make them think different, to challenge what they've been taught, what they've been used to seeing, what they've been used to hearing. And I feel like I'm that person that just kind of, touches them in a manner that's where it's more like who she thinks she is. And, I don't like her, but she got a point, but she right. And I feel like my purpose is just to trigger something within each, person that I come across. Mm-hmm. And at that particular moment, they realize that it's something within them that they've just never really paid attention to, or they just neglected to work on it. So I just feel like, in a sense, I'm just that trigger. And within myself being that trigger, then I'm able to share something with you that you're not familiar with, or that you've never heard. So if I'm gonna be your worst enemy, I don't mind being your worst enemy as long as you learn something in the process.
Hello.
So,
right.
Like I said, when it's education, that's what education is. It's not always sitting in the classroom with a book at a desk and somebody just feeding into you what they want you to think. So, hey Tate, we really appreciate it. Tate, Tate is on his best behavior today.
So far, so good.
Yes. Hey Coronado, thank you for watching. And again, if you all feel like you want to share, you know what? I'm not even gonna ask if you feel like sharing it. Just share it, because somebody gonna need it. If you don't need it, somebody will. Just share the video. Now that we, share with you all what our purpose is, the next thing on the agenda is we're gonna tell you all a little bit about our journey and how that led to us finding out what our purpose is and pursuing our purpose. So, of course, Allison, you up first.
I'm ready. Okay, so I could say that it started, I'll say that the doors started to open shortly after my marriage ended. And for those who have not followed me, and what's up to Zip? I see that Miss Beeman just popped in. Thank you. So I am the product or the survivor of a domestic attack. And I say domestic attack instead of domestic violence because I want to give honor to those who did endure it on a regular basis. Mine was a one-time thing. My now ex-husband snapped, attempted to kill me, and it just triggered a whole different life from August 20th, 2008 till now. And so I went through layoff, I went through losing a home, I went through bankruptcy, I went through all of these different things. And it led me to 2011 thinking that I had gotten through the worst of it, thinking that I had fallen in love with this wonderful, awesome man, and me already being ready to leave my hometown or my home state and just do something different. What I ended up doing was running smack dab into the first narcissist I'd ever met. Never heard the term, never knew what narcissistic abuse was. All I knew is I came here to Texas. I came to Dallas thinking I was going to get married and be a stepmom to 3 kids, and we were going to be the new Brady Bunch and all this other stuff. And within a year, I didn't recognize myself, but I didn't know what was wrong. I kept passing it off as being homesick. I'm homesick. I'm homesick. But that's not what it was. And it took almost 2.5 years of abuse to really finally get to Google and YouTube and listen to all of these different people and find out what had happened to me. And so as I healed through that situation, it began to pull other things out. It began to pull out the insecurity that I was still dealing with from childhood. It even pulled out the fact that I had to acknowledge that I had a narcissistic parent. And for those of you who have dealt with narcissists, you do have a tendency to have one or two things that are common. You have developed a codependent personality, which is what I had to recover from. And you more than likely had a narcissistic parent. And in my instance, I had the narcissistic parent, and what I was doing subconsciously was trying to gain approval from my narcissistic parent by basically dating someone just like them. So in my head, I kept feeling like if I could get their love, if I could get them to do these things, then it'll make me worthy. And I didn't realize I was worthy without all that extra nonsense. And so what led me on this path was me just having to heal me having to get beyond thinking that love had to look a particular way. And in my case, I felt like I was supposed to receive love freely, but I was supposed to work to get it back. I had to work and I had to prove and I had to chase and I had to show that I was willing to stick and stay and ride or die and all that nonsense. And by getting out of that process, what the universe started doing was directing people to me. I'm very open with people that I know, but in terms of Facebook Live and public speaking and all that stuff, not even a thought. But the universe kept sending people to me And I found that for whatever reason, I didn't know them, but I had the answer to what they needed. I would be able to help them. I would be able to counsel them. I would be able to coach them. And that's how Be Still and Move started. That's how the Facebook Live started. That's how the nonprofit has been created. All from me just making a decision that I wanted to live a better life. I wanted to be transparent, and I wanted to help other people to do the same thing for themselves.
Absolutely. It's crazy when you listen to someone's story, you recognize you have way more much in common with them than you realize. Or
exactly,
you sparked something about the narcissistic parent that I had. It was like, oh, I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna talk to you later.
Okay.
Yeah, it woke up something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what healing is about. Even from what Ruby said, is that sometimes people can say something, they trigger something off in you. And that really is the beginning of the healing process for a lot of people. For myself, if you know anything about the 80s, I'm a late 70s baby. Crack cocaine took over the 80s, took over Black communities. It took over my family. Mm-hmm. And so from my very first memory, my life has been consumed with alcohol and drugs in one way, shape, or form. My life has been consumed with, like I said, trauma. I am a survivor of drug addiction, alcoholism, from my parents being that, to myself experiencing my own drug addiction and alcoholism, from the experiencing childhood molestation, childhood incest, rape within my family, rape outside of my family. And so I spiraled. My entire life, has really just been a spiral of just constantly spiraling out of control. So, of course, that leads to bad relationships, that leads to single motherhood, that leads to crime. It just spills over into every area of your life. And so what led me to this place of healing, because I've tried this before. This is not my first go round at trying to get healthy, happy, and whole. I like you, Allison, I came to Texas for change. I didn't come for a relationship, but I came for change. And what I found is that wherever you go, there you are. And so I met my narcissistic partner in the state of Texas, right?
Wow.
I was like, ding. But wherever you go, there you are. And so the alcoholism and the drug addiction began to, it wasn't even beginning, it continued to take over my life. I got arrested in January of 2011. And that really began my journey of healing, because I had to sit in Fayette County, Texas, in a jail cell and go, what the hell? My life was like, when you go to jail and you realize you can't leave, your freedom has literally been snatched from you in a physical sense. You start to replay your whole life. And after hearing, after being arraigned and hearing the judge list off all of the charges that I was facing, and it was 20 years. Here I am, 30, just turned 31 years old. I have a small child, and I was just stuck. I didn't know what the next step in my life was supposed to be. I knew it wasn't that. As much as I had gone through in life, I knew that this was not all that the universe had for me. I didn't know how I was going to come out of it, but I knew that this wasn't it. And so I had to, that began the journey of shifting the language that I use, shifting the thoughts that I think, because I had to start looking at the arrest and the charges that I was facing as a blessing and not a curse.
Right.
And that allowed me to see things differently. I could see my future beyond those particular circumstances. But unfortunately, I was locked into a soul tie with a very narcissistic person. I didn't even understand what narcissistic abuse was at that time. And so even after I had evolved out of the court system, I was in an emotionally, mentally an abusive relationship for the better half of almost 7 years. So as I'm going through this journey of healing and I'm evolving into the woman that you see today, I created a business venture, Respect the Queen, a women's empowerment movement, as I was shifting from a bad bitch mentality, a street life mentality, into, you know, tapping into my authentic self, tapping into I say the queendom, tapping into the queendom mindset, the way that I would operate and move in life. But I was unable to truly flourish in that the way that I was supposed to, because I was connected to this very toxic person. That journey of healing began when I realized it wasn't him, that I was attracting this type of person into my life, because as much as I had healed, I was still very toxic at my core. And so when I started to take responsibility for that, when I started to look at that from a very spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, financial space, it allowed me to set myself free. It allowed me to look at myself in a way that it's hard for us to get honest about the part that we play in our own demise.
Right.
So there was some level of accountability, to propel into this movement. And I had already been in the movement. Like, I'm running a business with women's empowerment and I'm being emotionally abused at the same time. And y'all don't even know it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So here I am today, very much single, and working on self. Like Allison said, just focusing on myself and taking care of myself, and just providing a space for other people to do the same, without being judgmental, and knowing that we all have a journey and we all have a process in which we have to go through. So, that is how I've came into my purpose, is through pain. Through a whole lot of pain.
That's going to be the overall theme. Pain.
Yes. Through pain. Pain is a great motivator.
Exactly.
It is.
So I really appreciate you ladies sharing that. Now y'all see why I reached out to them, because they're genuine, they're open, and it was divine. It was meant to be. I connected with them for a reason, and here it is. But with my story, it's completely different. Like, mine started when, of course, first generation college graduate. I graduated from college. I started working. I knew early on, even before I went to college, that me working for somebody else was just really not what I wanted to do. And it was not an option, but it was a means. And right. If that's what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be, then that's what I did. But with working within a corporate environment and just not really wanting to do that, of course, that made me unhappy. And then dealing with a string of, I'll just say unsuccessful relationships, and just giving so much of me and not receiving that back, then it puts you in a place where you start questioning, like, what's wrong with me? What is the problem with me? So with dealing with, whatever discomfort and not wanting to be in corporate America, dealing with that combined with all of these, failed relationships, and putting that all together, then it just really starts to tear and wear you down mentally, emotionally, and spiritually and physically. And, my story starts with depression. I went through depression twice. The first time I didn't take any medication or anything. I had a therapist that I was seeing. And, at some point it's just like, okay, I can pretend that I'm better and, just go back to work, because unfortunately at some point you have to go back to work. Right. So of course I went back to work, and ultimately after that first time that I was out on short-term disability, nothing was really resolved. It was just, I got tired of going and I got tired of sitting at home. So I might as well just go back to work. Well, the second time that I dealt with depression, then at that particular go around, I opted for the medication. And with the medication, yes, it helped. It numbed. I didn't have to feel. You know, I was able to continue to do what I, you know, hang out with friends and whatnot, but I was emotionless. I was just there simply because that's what I'm supposed to do, because I'm not supposed to sit at home and just be alone. I'm supposed to be out here partying and having a good time and everything. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, hanging out with my friends and, you know, just being around other people, it helped, but it didn't stop the hurt. And the only thing that stopped the hurt was the medication. So, of course, I took it. And at some point I was just like, okay, I'm tired of doing this. I got to go back to work because, you know, of course, with corporate America, how long does it take them to really approve your short-term disability? And it's just like, okay, I got to make money some kind of way. So I have to go back to work. So, you know, of course I went back to work. And even though I was back at work, I still wasn't any better. I didn't have any more prescriptions to get medications to help. And I'm still dealing with these, you know, failed relationships and trying to be like, okay, I'm just going to be alone. But then you don't want to be lonely. And you just continue to deal with this mental and emotional struggle. And it's just like, what do I do? Right. And you just get to the point where you're just moving, but you're not making any progress. It's just day in and day out, you doing the same thing. And at some particular point, I just decided, well, with me just having all this negative energy and having all this pain, keyword pain, and dealing with all of this, you know what? Let me just work on a business. Let me just try to transfer this energy to something else. That's why I have such a soft spot. And that's why I'm such an advocate for entrepreneurship, because being able to create your own helps to balance out that pain that you feel. And for me, that was what really worked. So that going through all of that brought me to my purpose of focusing on entrepreneurship and pushing that. And not only that, but getting into the chakras and understanding why we feel this way and why I was depressed, because now I know the science behind it. And it's just like, if I know that a certain situation is going to trigger a certain type of thought and a certain type of feeling or emotion, then I can kind of deal with it before I actually have to deal with it, and make sure that it doesn't affect me as negatively as it would have way back then. So that's what brought me to my purpose, and wanting to educate people about the chakras and letting you all know what it really is that you're dealing with, as opposed to you just saying, well, okay, this relationship didn't work, or this job is stressing me out. No, it goes way beyond that. It comes back to me. Like with everybody, we all had to come to some point where we come to terms with what we did and what we can control and what we can do. So that's pretty much, you know, part of my journey and how that led me to my purpose. Now, you know, again, I just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Like I said, if you have any questions, please ask. If you have any comments, please, you know, put them below, engage. We definitely, you know, want to hear what you all have to say or feedback. Let us know how you feel about what we're talking about, because it's important that we do this. I mean, you can go on Facebook Live and see people, you know, acting crazy. You can see people doing everything else as opposed to addressing what the real issues are. And that's why we want to do this. Now, now that we've talked about, you know, our journeys and how it led us to our purpose, next we are going to discuss what we feel is a huge problem in our community that keeps us from talking about and addressing mental health and emotional wellness and all of this stuff. Why is it such an issue? Why has it become so normal for us to be dysfunctional in that way? Why is it so common for us to be dysfunctional mentally and emotionally and spiritually, and for us to just pretend like it doesn't exist? So I'm gonna let Allison again go ahead and, give her thoughts on that.
I'll be honest, I may come from a different standpoint, but based off of the gateway into narcissistic abuse allowed me to have a way into other types of abuse, the emotional, the spiritual, the mental. It gave me the opportunity to see things as they are. In terms of mental health, I think that we have two issues that are preventing us from talking about it, especially in our community. I think a lot of it is still the stigma that what goes on in this house stays in this house. A lot of people just don't want to acknowledge what's going on. We still have babies being raped. We still have, babies being exposed to things that they shouldn't be exposed to. And the only comeback that people will have is, well, this is my house. Well, this is my house. And leaving the home situation, I think another issue is just an overall lack of accountability. We don't hold people accountable. If there are boys or there are girls, we always have some reason why they're never wrong, even when they're completely wrong. We may know why they are the way they are, but as I mentioned in the video I did a couple of days ago, that's where we mess up. We stop at figuring out why a person is the way they are instead of making the effort to see what we can do to change it. Knowing why a person is a molester is not good enough. We got to get them to stop molesting. It's not good enough to say we know that they were molested when we're watching them continue to spread that same spirit and that same darkness to other children. That's not enough. And so I think that's what two of the biggest issues are. We don't want to face it, and we don't want to hold people accountable.
Excellent point.
Absolutely. I don't disagree at all.
Right.
To piggyback in and add to it, I think that I can only speak from my own experience and what I've seen in my own life. I remember going to see my first therapist at 15 on my own. I remember seeking out mental health on my own. I remember people in my family not knowing that I had a behavioral issue of some sort. But no one, like Allison said, no one wanted to be accountable for assisting me. The solutions that were provided were religious based. Just pray, just go to church. I think that we see mental health as a sign of weakness. We see asking for help as a sign of weakness. And then when you evolve over into single motherhood, you're expected to be strong. Even when you literally look as though you need help.
Right.
So your life is a disaster. I mean, I can honestly say to you that no one in my life ever confronted me about mental health, drug addiction, or alcoholism, whether that was family, friends, the church, co-workers. Nobody ever, the show Intervention, nobody ever said there's something wrong. So I think that we use the term mind your business, or I got my own kids. I ain't got time to be worried about. We don't have and we don't practice our cultural origins, as far as every child you encounter is yours. Every family you encounter is yours. And so I think that the community aspect is missing. The compassion and the kindness and the caring and concern is missing. So when we can see things online, like a small child being raped, and we transfer that energy out, we share that with someone else, it's like there is we don't have any shame, like to do things like that. We reward bad behavior. We reward dysfunctional videos that we see when people are fighting or behaving in a very dysfunctional manner. I know I'm a person that goes, oh my God, what happened to that person? For them to be behaving in that light, I know that there is something underneath that behavior that nobody is addressing. And also, to add before I close, recognizing in my own home that mental health for young girls doesn't necessarily look like mental health. Sometimes it looks like, reckless sex. Sometimes it looks like dressing in a certain way. For boys, sometimes it looks like not going to school, skipping school, getting into fights at school, being angry. So the face of mental health, it's skewed. It's not correct in what it looks like for the individual. And so we chalk it up to he don't know how to act.
Right.
Versus there's actually something wrong with this child, whether it be male or female. We chalk it up to just disciplining them versus actually asking your child or trying to figure out what is going on underneath the behavior.
And what you say, snap, snap, snap. Yes, sir. Yes. And I absolutely agree with both of you. And I'm sure that we can continue going down and just making a list of things. But to definitely add to what you two have already said, I think that we just really don't know how to have the conversation, how to start the conversation. And we kind of don't want to start the conversation because that triggers within us what we haven't dealt with yet. And because we haven't dealt with it, we don't want to be reminded of it. So we just don't deal with it. We don't talk about it, and we just let it go. Like Tara said, is they acting crazy, or they're just being teenagers, or we just find some way to call it something else so we don't have to take responsibility of it. Not only in, like clearly something was going on, but nobody opened their mouth to ask her, to inquire or anything. But I bet you, without being in her face, behind her back, they said something to somebody else.
Right.
They were talking about her. And I mean, that's with me. If I'm at work and I'm not talking to nobody, why she acting funny? I bet blah, blah, blah. People will speculate all day.
Yeah.
But won't step to you and say anything because they don't want to put their own out there on Front Street. They don't want to address what they have going on. So seriously, y'all, we need to stop that. If you know somebody's going through something, I mean, I'm not saying you got to be all in their business, but just check on them, see what's going on, because you would want somebody to do that for you. And at the same time, well, on the other side, if somebody reaches out to you, don't dismiss it. Don't chop it up to them just, oh, you just in your feelings right now, or any other excuse that you come up with, because sometimes people just need somebody to listen. And even if you really don't want to listen, just pretend. Just to be an ear there to pretend is better than absolutely nothing at all. Right. So we just have to just start having these conversations. I mean, it's so much that we could talk about, but we only have, we don't have that much time today. But this is why I wanted to do this, because we don't have these conversations and they need to be had. So, moving on to the next thing on our agenda for today. When you hear the term happy, healthy, and healing, what comes to mind? Or, what do you think of? Allison?
So when I first heard the title, I'll be honest, the first thing that I thought about were 3 different vignettes that popped into my head. And so the first one, when I thought about happy, was me seeing, the typical GIF or GIF, I can't remember how you pronounce it, but the typical, image of a woman just hands out at the beach, free and calm and all that good stuff. And healthy, I immediately saw just rows and rows of different types of food, just all of the colorful foods that our body needs. And for healing, I just saw a woman crying, which is still a good thing because, as all of us know, crying allows you to release negative energy. And that's one of the ways that you can get to the point of acknowledging some of the feelings that you're having. And so when I put all of those things in totality, the visions were kind of generic, but what I pulled from them was, you know, how I basically try to live my life. You don't have to, healing does not always look like sitting in the bed crying, watching a movie that makes you cry, and eating food that you shouldn't eat, and staying away from people. That's not healing. That's isolating. And I think sometimes people don't know that there's a difference. Healing is, I am actively living my life in the middle of this hurt. And even the days that I don't feel like eating the right things, I am. Even on the days I don't feel like working out, I am. The days I don't feel like getting out of the bed, I am. And some of those things I've had to personally do myself. I've had those situations where my heart has just hurt. It's hurt so bad. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to make my bed. I didn't want to take a shower. I didn't want to change my clothes. I wanted ice cream. I didn't want to hear about uh, flaxseed and tofu. I didn't care about that. I wanted a pizza and some ice cream. And when you make the decision to be happy and healthy while you're healing, what you're saying is, I'm choosing, and people need to hear this. What you're saying is, I'm choosing the harder route to get over this. It's always harder to face feelings than it is to numb them. So when you make the decision to be happy and healthy while you're healing, you're saying, I'm not going to drink it away. I'm not going to smoke it away. I'm not going to sex it away. I'm not going to pretend it's not happening. I'm going to feel every damn emotion, and I'm going to get through this even though I don't want to. And so that's what it means to me.
That was good. That was good. I was like, yes, yes. For me, happy, healthy, and healing. For my own personal journey, happy is being okay with myself, even in the process of growth. Even when I'm facing things that I don't like about myself, remaining open-minded to receive whatever that is for me in that moment, whatever lesson I'm supposed to be learning. Um, Healthy for me is more mental and emotional because I spent so much time being unhealthy mentally and emotionally. So being healthy, mind, body, and soul, not allowing my thoughts to attack me, um, learning to shift out of a negative space into a positive space. When conflict comes about, learning not to take conflict personally, learning not to devalue myself, devalue my worth, just really staying grounded in solutions, staying grounded in positivity. Like Allison was saying, is that no matter what is happening, allow the process to take place. One of the girls that I mentor, she said, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And sometimes feelings make us uncomfortable. And you know how you get that butterfly and that little tingle in your stomach when it's some sort of conflict, because you really don't want to deal with that conflict. You don't want to face that conflict,
Right.
because you're trying to manage the outcome. And so being healthy is also about me not trying to manage the outcome and just feeling my feelings all the way through to get to the other side. Healing for me is just allowing myself to be. And when situations arise that I am supposed to learn from, remaining open-minded, so that, because sometimes what happens with healing is we'll do the whole out of sight, out of mind, and we'll call it healing because we're not physically involved in those situations. So what I've come to learn in the last 5 years is that sometimes we will revisit a situation so that we can have a deeper level of understanding, a deeper level of healing. So embracing the fact that healing comes in layers, and it just, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, healing from whatever it is that has caused you some sort of pain. And you know what healing is? Healing is being accountable. Healing is really being accountable. So it doesn't look dark all the time. There are moments and spaces where things get funky for me, but they are not, all week in the bed. It might be a couple hours of, let me take some time with myself and get with this. So when I don't have to spend 3 days in the bed depressed, and I can spend 3 minutes feeling a little uncomfortable. That's healing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, pretty much it. That's what I thought about.
Okay, well, thank you both. For me, happy, healthy, and healing. Happy was me being myself unapologetically, and just doing those things that makes me feel good, things that make me happy, things that keep me in a positive space. Not, really allowing other people to get under my skin, and just being me. When I think about healthy, that was pretty much just being able to find it was kind of what Allison said, of course, eating healthy and just making sure that you're taking care of yourself holistically, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Just making sure that making sure that I'm in a space where if I'm ever in a negative situation, then I'm able to understand the purpose behind this particular incident and know why it's happening, as opposed to letting it poison me. And even though I work to get 5 steps ahead, I'm not going to allow it to take me 10 steps back.
Right.
And the healing part of it is pretty much where I'm able to live in those emotions and feel and effectively process what I'm going through, and understand that there's a purpose, behind everything, instead of letting it just fester in me and pretending like it didn't happen, and just, getting an attitude and just having Tara said, just a funky attitude, and just being in that situation, or in just letting negativity consume me. And it's just like, when I'm able to heal, then I understand the process. I trust the process. I am the process. Right. Knowing that, for one, there is a process, because you don't just all of a sudden wake up and be like, okay, I'm healed. No, healing is an every day, every hour, every minute, every second task that we all work on. Every moment that happens in our life, we have to consciously make a decision to not let it consume us and negatively affect us. Right. I'm sure today all of us had something that happened, and we just like, you know what? Let me just, okay, universe, that's what we doing today. Okay, cool. I got this. I got this. That's really what we doing. Okay. Oh, you testing me today. Oh, that's what. And we always have those moments, but it's not about allowing that moment to ruin the rest of my day. Healing is identifying the moment, being in the moment, feeling the moment, and just knowing that it's just a moment. Right. And that's what happy, healthy, and healing is for me. So now, with that being said, Tate says healing is taking ownership of the problem and making advancements towards resolving issues. Yes. You got a point, Tate. I'm glad you're on your best behavior today, though. Zip says definitely guilty of the out of sight, out of mind concept. Girl, aren't we all?
Right.
We think it's out of sight, out of mind, but it's tearing us up inside. It really is. Now, y'all know we kind of winding it down. I know y'all loving what we doing right now, because y'all don't have a choice. But, all good things must come to an end at some particular point. So to kind of round and wrap all of this up, we each are going to give 3 activities or things that we do or that we've done to help us remain happy, healthy, and healing on this particular journey.
Allison.
So, Allison.
Okay. I think I pretty much gave mine. The 3 things that I have personally done. The first one is going to sound kind of weird, but it's making my bed. For me, making my bed, seeing that part is just seeing that my room is nice and clean, that somehow just declutters my mind. It doesn't make me feel like I have gotten to a place of where I just don't care about my surroundings. And so something is small when I'm going through a path of healing, something as small as making my bed every day is an accomplishment, because normally if there have been times that I didn't want to get out of the bed. And so I made it a point to make my bed every day, to say this day, you're done sleeping until later. I don't care how you feel. I'm not going to give you the opportunity to think that this is something you can just come back to at 10 in the morning or 12 in the afternoon. So that's one of the things that I do for myself. The second thing is, as I mentioned with the last question, I am making or have made, depending on the part of my life, I make sure that I do choose healthy food over non-healthy, because I know that I am an emotional eater. So, it would be great if emotional eating to me was carrots and celery and chicken breasts and all that stuff, but it's not. It's Coke, and I try to justify it by getting Coca-Cola Life because it's got cane sugar instead of corn syrup, and it's it's pizza and it's cake and it's French fries from anywhere. So I try to make the concentrated effort and say, you don't want to get to the next phase of your life and not be healthy to enjoy it. Don't let this situation take your health away. So I try to make the very best effort possible when I have those moments to eat what I should, even if it's not what I want. And the third thing that has helped me is meditation. I can't say enough about it. It calms me. It clears my mind. I mentioned to one person that prayer and meditation go hand in hand. Prayer is when you're actually thanking God, thanking the universe, and asking for questions. But meditation is where you get the answers. That's where you get the calm mind. That's where you get the ability to see the day in a different light, in a different perspective. And so those three things help me get to that point where I can heal and just deal and enjoy the process.
Cool. I'm sorry. For me, three things that I do. I do a lot of different things. One is self-check. I'm always getting with myself before I do anything, and even after I've chosen a behavior, I self-check, and not in a manner where I'm beating myself up. It's just, okay, what was this about? What is the lesson here for me? What was I supposed to learn? Could I have done that better? And how can I grow? How can I grow? How can I grow? Am I harboring any resentments? I really just do inventory of whatever it is that's going on in my life, or whatever transpired in my life that day. And even when it's good, because you still have to acknowledge the good and not just be focused on the part of yourself that may have been conceived as negative or bad behavior, or whatever the case may be. So that has been instrumental in my growth, in my healing process, is to look in the mirrors, baby, look in the mirrors, because it's always about me. When I understand that I am the problem in my own life in every area, it just makes things easier for me. And it frees me up to move on faster. So I am not holding on to things weeks and months down the line because I didn't get with it right away. Another thing that makes me happy and healthy is I changed my behavior in the morning. I used to get up and just go to work. And now I spend about 2 hours every day going to the gym. I just started this beginner's yoga because Ruby dogged me out for not stretching before I did my squat. I ain't know no better, y'all. I ain't know no better. I was just out here like a champ, baby, like 15 leg lifts. She's like, I hope you stretch. I was like, I didn't do that. But meditation gives me the space to just be away from the world. I get to quiet myself down. And when you have children, like you kind of lose your space in the house, or they in the bathroom, you in the bathroom. And so I created a meditation and prayer and workroom. It's where I'm at right now. It's mine, because a lot of times as women, we focus on taking care of everyone else. And so this is the space in which I take care of me, and do whatever it is I need to do for me that day. And sometimes it's just laying on the floor and listening to and nothing else. And that's, what is good for me. Like Ruby said, what's good for you? What makes you feel good? And it's not about whatever it is that makes you feel good. Make sure it's not something that allows you to numb out. And it actually allows you to process through whatever that is that's going on in your life. So those are my 3 things.
Okay. So before I get to my 3, Zip had a question. How do you calm your mind enough to meditate? So Allison and Tara mentioned meditation, and I'm going to mention it too. That's going to be one of my 3. But before I get into it, Allison, I'm going to give you the opportunity to answer the question, and then Tara, I'm going to give you the opportunity. So go ahead, Allison.
Okay. So Zip, for me, what I learned through meditation, I started with guided. And one of the first things that guided meditation will tell you is that you can't calm your mind by sheer will. You have to allow the thoughts to just pass through. So acknowledge that you're having that thought, allow it to pass through, and get back to your centering thought. That is going to be the thing that you can do. And that's where I kept messing up. I would get frustrated because I couldn't calm my mind down. And then I finally decided to do guided meditation. And the very first one I heard was, let your mind go. And what happens is, as you go through the process, because there are different stages of meditation, as you go through the process, you're able to self-calm and self-soothe. And though it's not that you're thinking less, it's that you're less aware of it when you know it's time for you to stay in a centering place.
Right. I don't disagree at all. I would give the same answer. I kind of started off backwards because I'm like, what's his name? Who asked the question?
The name is Zip.
Zip. I was so focused, like Allison said, on I couldn't quiet my thoughts down. And so I started practicing meditation at night. Laying still in a dark room, and I started listening to guided but also binaural beats, and I would just let myself zone out until I fell asleep. I would focus on that frequency or whatever they were saying in the guided meditation versus my own thoughts. And that's what's helped me. And I still have moments where something just, when you're in the middle of prayer, you think something, you're like, I wasn't supposed to think that. It still happens. Sometimes, to be honest with you, meditation for me is not necessarily always a guided or binaural beats or anything of that nature. Sometimes I have to sit still and turn on Erykah Badu and get very quiet with myself and let that frequency take me somewhere else. Music is very much something for me that calms and allows me to be still. So I think that, because we read all of these books and they said to do it this way and do it that way, and it's supposed to set up like this. And I think when you figure out what works for you, what practice works for you, not me and not anyone else, and just repetition. Don't give up because you feel like you're not able to quiet your mind. I think it's just a decluttered spirit, and the more you practice, the much more your mind will become clear.
I agree with both of them. To give my 3 things, of course, I'll start with meditation. I definitely do meditation as one of my activities to help me with being happy and healthy while I'm healing. And sometimes I meditate in the morning, sometimes I meditate right before I go to sleep, but I find ways to meditate throughout the day. Like while listening to music, I listen to the words, and when I'm listening to the words, I just listen to how it could possibly apply to me. It may not necessarily be that, sometimes we listen to love songs and we think about somebody else listening to those love songs, but I think about myself. Like it was one instance where I sent Allison a song and I was like, listen to this song. And I was like, even though the song was about the woman singing to her man, I was like, I think it's more, related to you saying those words to yourself. And once you, for me, once I just get into this particular groove, I just kind of stay in that groove and I just relate it to whatever I may be going through at the time. Like I shared with Allison when we just did Soul Sunday on yesterday how I volunteer, which that's, you know, activity number 2. I like to volunteer. But with volunteering, what we were doing is just repetitive. And within that repetition, I found a rhythm. And within that rhythm, I found where I could just focus and meditate and just pretty much let things go. Because with what we were doing, we were cutting tags off, and then we were putting the tags in the box and packing them away. And to me, the way I related that to meditation and focusing was me cutting the tags, was me cutting things off that I no longer needed or that no longer served me. And as I packed the sweaters in a box and put them away, that was me packing whatever I didn't need anymore, or packing away things from my past that no longer served me.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
So it wasn't a situation where I had to calm my thoughts or anything like that. It was just whatever I was doing, I just found a way to incorporate that into a way for me to meditate or find some type of meditative state that I could benefit from it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you can do that in the shower, while driving, doing hair, washing dishes, vacuuming the floor, whatever it is that you like to do. Trust me, it's some kind of way you can incorporate some meditation into it. Yeah. Like my second activity, like I said, was volunteering. My mom, you know, she always invites me to go and volunteer with her. And of course I go. And, you know, now I found this place that I like to volunteer at every single week. And just being there and being around those people and just being in that particular atmosphere, it just makes me feel so much better. It makes me more appreciative of what I'm dealing with, because or things that I deal with on a daily basis, because I volunteer at a food pantry. And you know, a lot of everybody's not homeless. There, you know, it's people that, you know, the money ran short before they got to their next check. Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're homeless. They don't have a car. They don't have a job. It's just it didn't stretch far enough. Right. So that's the second activity I do. Third activity, I just do things that I love. I like sleeping. I like taking naps because when I sleep, you know, it puts me, for me, sleeping and taking naps is really my creative thing. Even though my mind is still working, that's the best time for me to be able to listen and for me to get messages. And it's able for me to decipher what I need versus what I don't need, because the things that I need, I remember. The things that I don't need, I have no idea. Like, I rarely dream, but when I do, I only remember certain parts of the dream. So I know, you know, that's something that works for me, or those particular memories have a message for me. And, you know, I enjoy sleeping. Everybody knows I like going to karaoke. I just like going to karaoke because I like to sing. Like Tara said, music is very therapeutic for, you know, many reasons. I like to sing. I like to be around other people that like to sing. I like music. I like line dancing. I like dancing, period. So, of course, those are just things that make me happy. And last thing, I always like to stress to individuals, our mind and our emotions are basically, you know, one door. It's not a sliding door or a swinging door. It's one door. And when I say that, it means only one thing can come in at a time and only one thing can go out. So you can either feel positive or you can either feel negative. You can think positive or you can think negative. You can't do both at the same time. So if you're occupying, if happiness is occupying that door space, there's no opportunity for negativity and anything else to come in until you put it there. Mm-hmm. So those are my 3 things that I enjoy doing to make sure that I remain happy and healthy while healing. So
that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
So actually that was the end of our agenda, but I want to give everybody the opportunity to say some last words and, you know, give us some closing remarks. And of course, we're going to start with Allison. Bring it on.
All right, I see how it's going to go each month. All right, I'll be ready. Okay, so the what I want to leave people with, those of you who are going through any type of healing. And because of the fact that I speak on relationships, I'll come from that standpoint. I want you to understand that how you feel right now is not how it's going to always be. It will get better. You will be able to start unpacking that relationship and figuring out the things that did work versus what didn't. You will get to a point where you will stop feeling guilty if you had to leave, or where you will start to feel empowered because you made the decision even though you didn't want to. But it's very important that you just follow the process. Stop looking for shortcuts. Stop looking for ways for it to hurt less. The only way for it to hurt less is to let it hurt until it doesn't. And one of the things I like to leave with people is I want to dispel this myth. The best way to get over one person is not to get under another one. It's not. So stop doing it. Stop adding extra to your pain and just hurt. Because if you allow yourself to just hurt, it will stop hurting. But if you numb it, the hurt never leaves. It just becomes destructive.
That's good, girl. I'm over here motivated. Oh, motivated. It's really nice to share this space with you ladies. I haven't conquered figuring out how to see my Facebook and this at the same time. So thank everybody that's following, because I can't see you. What I would leave with people is you are not responsible. And I heard this the other day. Will Smith shared it and it just touched my heart. You are not responsible for the things that people did to you along the way, but you are responsible for your healing. And the moment that you can assume responsibility for your own healing is really the moment that you set yourself free. It's really the moment that you get to begin this new journey in your life. The story in which you tell yourself determines where you will go in life. If you continue to tell yourself a story that allows you to remain a victim, you will just perpetuate the same vicious cycle. But the moment you step into, I will not allow this dysfunctional, vicious, generational cycle to continue in my life. I will assume responsibility for myself, for my healing. Your life can transform overnight. Let me tell you, I am the queen of transforming my own life and having a second chance to have, a phenomenal life. It's possible. It's possible to have better and to be better, and redefine what that looks like for you. Stop deciding that it must look like what other people say it must look like. What happy, healthy, and whole for you is may not be for me. What it is for Ruby or what it is for Allison, it all looks different for us. And when you can find a space in which you are happy with absolutely nothing on the outside of you, you will empower yourself on a whole nother level. I'm grateful to share the space with you all. I want to say this too. My phone about to die. I'm holding on like, Lord, please don't let it die while we're still talking. So I am so excited to share this space for you. So if it dropped before we end, I'm so sorry. I'm holding on.
It's all right. We got you, boo. We got you.
But I do appreciate the opportunity, and I can't wait till we do this again. This is going to be a phenomenal journey. Yeah. I'm excited. People need this.
Yes. And thank you, ladies. The last thing that I want to say is be consistent, be determined, understand that with this healing process and being on this journey, it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes just knowing and understanding that everything that you're going through is knowing that the outcome is going to be so worth it. It's so worth it. Trust me, to get to this point where I am now, and I'm pretty sure Allison and Tara can, piggyback. co-sign on what I'm about to say, but once you get to that point where it's just like, I made it through, and not necessarily you made it through every obstacle that you're gonna, deal with. It's just that you made it through to a point where it doesn't tear you down. You don't allow it to defeat you. You've basically won. And that comes through being consistent with knowing it takes effort every single day. It comes with knowing that you have to fight for yourself every single day. And sometimes it's not even about fighting anybody else or fighting a situation. It's about fighting yourself for yourself. And just know that it is well worth everything that you're going to go through. And if you have to go through it, you might as well enjoy the journey, learn from the journey, and in the process of learning, help other people. And in addition to you being able to help other people, you find that helping other people is a way that you help yourself. So, that's pretty much all that I wanted to say to kind of wrap this up. Is even though it's about us and self-love and self-preservation and self-care, we have to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of each other. So, yeah, Tara, she did say her phone was going to die, but I'm glad she was able to get out her last remarks and, what she wanted to leave us with. Allison, I love you, girl. Tara, I know you're going to watch this on the replay. I love you too. And I really appreciate both of you for doing this with me. And, I'm sitting here thinking like, wait a minute, once a month? Oh, maybe we might need to do it twice a month. But we'll talk about it and we'll see. But we really hope you all got what, if it wasn't what you needed, then you got something from what we discussed today. Of course, this is only the first installment of Happy, Healthy, and Healing. And we wanted to give you all a background about us and how we feel and how we think and what we've been through, so we can really get into what it is that we want to get to as far as touching on mental, emotionally, spiritually, and physically healing, not only women, but women, men, children, the family unit, the individual unit. But we felt that it was important for you all to know what we've been through, because just like Allison said Tara said at the beginning, as Allison was speaking, you never know how much you have in common with the person until you start talking and you start discussing things. And it's just like, okay, then we can, we have more in common than what we thought. So, like I said, we all have 3 completely different lives, but we're on the same journey of becoming the best versions of ourselves. And in that process, we just want to make sure that we are happy, we're healthy, and we're healing. Yeah. So this is going to be the end of this. Like I said, we will do this the last Tuesday of every month. Of course, we'll probably go back and discuss it like, wait a minute, you just have to keep an eye out and see what we decide. But we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, definitely let us know. Definitely share the video. Don't be afraid to reach out to any one of us. And that's pretty much it. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you all. And we will see you next time. Peace. Wait a minute, Allison. You know how this works. We got to give it a few seconds.